Hello, and welcome. Uh, Today we're going to be making a bee out of a toilet paper roll. Uh, what you need is going to be a toilet paper, some little sticks, a stapler, some paints and paintbrushes, uh, a pen slash pencil, and some cardstock for the face of the bee. So we're going to start off with drawing a circle using the toilet paper roll as a reference. Preferably sticking to the edges of the roll and doing our best. Then we're going to do a small circle outside of it. Also, I'm noticing already that I forgot to mention that we're also going to need some scissors and some glue. So that's always fun. Try to do the circle as close to the edge as opposed to what I've just done. So we're going to cut out following the outer circle of the cardstock of the little model we've made, the base you could also say. And once that's done, I'll show a little thing that we're then going to do. And now the circle has been cut out. The cardstock can be put aside. If you feel like it, you can clean up a little bit, but not too much, as we're going to need the extra outer bit. Because the reason, this is the face, essentially. This inner circle is the face of the bee. What we're going to do is cut kind of square-y shapes, and then we're going to bend them inwards like so. And this is what's going to help the bee keep the face on it as opposed to just having it fall out. Some of them are going to go inside the tube, and others are going to stay out of the tube. The cardstock can be any color. It doesn't have to be yellow. So if you prefer a pink or a blue bee or a green bee or anything like that, that is absolutely fine and also encouraged. I picked out the yellow one because that is an easy demonstration and also happened to be what we had on hand. And yeah, you bend the little circles in, and you have a kind of sun. And you might have to see which ones of the circle, or like which ones of the little thingy actually would fit. And then you can just change the ones that you have bended. Obviously it needs to be glued down, but this is roughly what it should look like. I'm going to get the glue in just a moment. So in the meantime, to make the stinger, or the not head side of the bee, squish the toilet paper roll like so. Take the stapler, preferably if have adult supervision on hand, so that you so that you don't accidentally hurt yourself with the stapler. Put one staple on this side and then put a second one on the opposite side so that it can have a strong, secure structure to it. So the body should look something like this. Alright, before we move on to the gluing portion, let's actually paint the bee, give the bee a face, and paint the little sticks. When painting, always remember to have a little base where you can put the paints in, and a place for these to go dry when they're done. The face does not necessarily need to have used paint, but if you'd prefer to use it, that is perfectly fine. So let me just sploosh some paint there. Always try to start out with only a little bit, only what you think you need. And if you need to add more, that is absolutely fine. I have 2 brushes here so that the paints don't mix together, but if they do, that is perfectly fine. Bees' little stripes, they don't have to be yellow and black. They could be absolutely any color that you could want. And I will be just back once I'm finished with the painting. Just a little note, I'm starting on the second stripe, or the first quote-unquote black stripe. I'm just using brown for it. If you don't want the little text to show up on the bee, these little tubes can always be prepared to not have the text, like painting over it with white and such. And if you layer enough, you should be also be able to get rid of them, so to say. But and there should also be some toilet paper rolls that don't have text on them. We just didn't happen to have those here, so we're making do with what we have. So yeah, while painting a bee, it is always good to keep your concentration, but also just have fun. Don't try to make the lines perfect, because if every bee was perfect, then honey wouldn't probably be nearly as good as it already is. Which brings me to the question of, how do bees make honey? It's always life's little mysteries. But yeah, we have 2 stripes here, and I will be back in just a moment. I hope you have happy painting. Always remember when painting that you can make the stripes on the bee as big or as small as you would want. They don't have to be this big or small. It's all a matter of perspective, you know. But just do the stripe sizes according to how you would want them. Don't force your bee to be like somebody else's bee, because if you do that, then you will lose your own personal touch with the bee. You know? It's always good to keep your own little touches of the bee's outlook. Also, I'm using acrylic paints, so they should dry quite quickly. If you have some other kind of paint, there's a chance that it doesn't dry as fast, as we're already done with the third layer, and the first stripe is mostly dry. There are some little spots that have a bit more paint than the others, but yeah. And if just try to have fun with your bee, because we all have like our own little gardens of the mind, you know. Everyone's brain is like its own little garden with bees and an ecosystem or forest, I should say. And taking care of yourself is like taking care of the little forest and the bees and the animals in it. Sometimes there are going to be bad and rainy days, but that's okay, because one day there's going to be a good day with sun, and the animals are happy, and so will you. And it's okay to remember that you can have those bad days. You are allowed to feel bad, because not every day is going to be exactly as you'd wanted. But just keep going, as that is going to help your little garden grow. And now I'm adding a bit of paint to my palette, as I did not take enough. Depending on what paint you are using, you might need to set your bee aside to dry until you can come to this side, because now we're towards the more end of the bee, which then means that you might not be able to have as much grip on that side, so you have to swap sides. And if the first side is not dry, then your fingers are going to be all messy, which is not the worst thing. But I know there are some people who do not like the texture of paint. Texture is such a fun word. It just tells how something feels. That is what texture essentially means. Also, with the stripes of the bee, I should know, they don't have to be just 2 colors. They can absolutely be 5, 7, 6, as many as you'd like. Because it is your bee, and it's your own little personal touch. It's like how the bees in your mind look. You're deciding your own little mind bees' outfits, kind of. And it's always good to take care of yourself and take care of the little bees and give the little bees some positivity. They're working hard, and so are you. And it's always good to remember to take little fun breaks like this. Plus, some days are just going to be a bit worse. Some are going to be just as great as the last one. When painting, do a bit better than me and have a little cover on the table, and have a cover over yourself so that you don't accidentally paint on your clothes, for say, or have some like not the best clothes in your wardrobe, you know? Like, even if you might not sorry about that, might not like the clothes that much, just put those ones on so that you don't mess up the clothes that you do like. I'm just testing something real quick. Alright, so depending on the paint also, you might not be able to build on layers of the color so that it hides the little text. But then again, the text can be quite fun, as it adds a little personal touch to your bee. Now these little guys. These are going to be the little antennas. They're going to be a bit hard to paint, as it is just couple of sticky boys. So there is a chance that you might get paint on your hands. There's a chance that you won't. You never know. But always remember, if you do get paint on your hands, try to go wash them off as quickly as you can. Acrylic paints and watercolor paints do wash off quite easily. Now we've got the first antennae over here. And then I'm starting to paint the second one. It could be quite fun as an overall project to make that little garden inside your head. You know, like this is the bees. You might have a little flowery garden, a small little house, a little hut that's like your safe space. Just a little forest with a little hut surrounded by animals. That's just your happy place. You wouldn't have to share it, and you wouldn't have to tell about it to anyone, but it could just be your little place. Now both of the antennae have been painted. I'm going to quickly go wash my hands, and then we can start on the face. Alright, so with the face, you can use paints, markers, just pencils, just whatever. But just make a little face that you would want to make, you know? A little smiley face, or for that my camera cut off. But yeah, just any kind of face. I made a face like this. Just a little funky face. And we're going to let the bee dry for a bit. We're going to clean up our table just slightly. And we'll be right back then. Alright, so I noticed that my glue is very dry. So I'm going to use a bit of a last resort tape. There is a lot of ways to get the same effect as glue. I'm just kind of, I could not find any. Perhaps paint could be good too, but I can't say. as this is my first time doing this, which then shows that it is very good to check what you're working with. But happy little accidents. Happy little accidents. So we've got one side of the bee already taped down. Try to keep a little bit of the bee's thingamabobs, like a little bit of space without the tape if you do end up using tape. Preferably, obviously, you should use glue with adult supervision. But this is just how it is right now. So you're going to, in some way, attach the face or the head to the body of the bee. And we're just going to have fun with it. We're just going to let it happen. It's okay. Sometimes these things just happen. And if you do end up using tape, that is perfectly fine. You don't need to feel ashamed at all. So now the bee's head is on the body. The body is also dry. So we're going to take scissors, preferably with adult supervision, as scissors are very sharp and this could potentially be kind of dangerous. We're going to kind of, in a drilling motion, try and make 2 holes for the antenna. Now the antennae are in like so. I'm going to take a little bit of tape to tape down that final little sun ray. The little antennae don't have to be even. They can be as uneven or as even as you want. They don't have to be this little. You can leave them as up or as down as you would like. Yeah. Now you might be wondering what I'm doing. Well, I'm taking some of this that you use when you wrap gifts. I'm going to make it into a little bow and try and figure out some little wings for our little bee friend. So I'll do that. Always ask for help if you need help with making a bow, as I know those are very difficult to do, especially when they're not on your shoes. Alright, I've kind of figured it out. So you're going to, you don't need to make the wings into a little bow. You're first going to tie it in a knot like so. It does not show the best up on camera, but that's okay. You're going to figure out the spot you want to put your friend's wings in, and you're going to tape it down. And then you're going to gather it like so. Camera cut off again. Like so, a couple of times. Sorry. The camera's been a little weird. Anyway, yeah, just a couple of times. They don't have to be like even or straight into one line or another. Just the wings can do how they want. If they are getting a bit frustrating to deal with, if you need it, do take a break. Self-care is very important. And yeah, we're just going to make this little guy some wings. And then grab some tape. Whoop. And put it down to size. If there's little quote-unquote mock-ups like the one I just had, that's okay. Accidents happen. Everything doesn't always go perfect, but there's always ways to fix it. Some are not as easy as this one, but that's perfectly okay. But yeah, once you've taped the wing down, the first wing down, just do the same for the other side. This is also your small reminder to be careful with your tape dispensers if you're doing it this little friend of yours alone, which is perfectly fine. You don't have to show anyone this possible friend of yours, but just do remember that you have to be careful, as the tip of the dispenser is just straight up metal, so it can hurt you a bit. Not too bad, but just a bit. To the point that I thought I should mention it. And once you're done with the wings, which could also be any color you want, I just decided to stick with white. Once your little guy has his little buzzers, which kind of look like they're already in movement, but as the little wings have been set in place, you can add little accessories like bows, hair, just whatever you would possibly want, just out of anything. And with any possible accessories you might have added, and if you didn't, then you didn't, and that's perfectly fine. But with any possible accessories or non-accessories added, your little bee friend is done. Always try to remember to give them a name, because they're helping you take care of your little brain forest. And just, I've decided to name this one Yanby. They have that energy, I should say. But yeah, I hope you have fun with your little bee creating adventures. And I hope you have a nice day. Until I see you later. Bye-bye!